Good afternoon, everybody. I have one very brief thing, and then happy to dive right into your questions. Last Friday, President Biden released the first ever voluntary commitments on artificial intelligence, which were agreed to by several leading companies, including Amazon, Anthropic, Google, Inflection, Meta, Microsoft, and OpenAI. These commitments are focused on safety, security, and trust, and represent an important step forward to ensure that powerful AI foundation models maximize the benefits for all people in line with our democratic values. As home to leading AI companies in the world, the U.S. is uniquely positioned to lead the way in creating an AI future that we all can benefit from. The voluntary commitments serve as an important first step and contribution to the international AI conversation around safety, security, and risk. As Secretary Blinken and Secretary Raimondo wrote in yesterday's Financial Times, to shape the future of AI, we must act quickly and collectively. No country or company can shape the future of AI alone. The U.S. has taken an important step, but only with the combined focus, ingenuity, and cooperation of the international community will we be able to fully and safely harness the potential of AI. With that, Matt, that's it. Floor is yours.
Gosh. Well, I don't know if it's mine or not. Hold on, let me get my
I think it's
recorder going. Thanks. Let's just start. I just want to make sure that it's still correct that you have not heard anything back from the North Koreans about Project King.
That is correct. As Matt indicated yesterday, getting an assertion of his well-being continues to be a high priority, and we continue to be in close coordination with the White House and the Department of Defense and throughout the interagency, but I don't have any new updates beyond what Matt shared yesterday.
And just to make sure that everyone understands, that means you don't know if he's in custody. You don't know if he's alive. You don't know and if he is alive, if he's what his condition.
That is correct. Those are among the litany of things that we do not know.
Okay, I guess I won't ask what else you don't know because that could be anything. All right, I'll let it go at that. I'm sure you'll be asked about Qinggong and say the same thing, that you don't know anything. So. But I'll let others do that asking.
Matt, all right. Simon, how about other side of the table?
Just to stay on North Korea, there's
sure.
Russian defense minister is planning to visit. I think some Chinese will go to mark Victory Day. Do you have any specific any concerns about those countries at a time like this kind of showing some support for Pyongyang?
Well, it goes back to an issue that we have raised a number of times before. Both Russia and the PRC have a potential role they can play, including through the auspices of the UN Security Council, in which they can use their influence over the DPRK to encourage them to refrain from threatening unlawful behavior that will not just incite tensions in the immediate region, but also the region broadly. And they also have a potential role to play in encouraging the DPRK to return to the negotiating table. The United States point of view on this has been quite consistent, which is that we are open to meeting with Pyongyang without preconditions, and we continue to have a commitment for the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
And if we can move on to Qinggong in this, maybe we can come back to North Korea. But just on the Chinese foreign minister, they've announced that he's been replaced by his predecessor, Wang Yi. There was supposed to be a visit of Qinggong to Washington that was in the works. Could you tell us about those discussions? Did they get anywhere? And I guess to put a finer point on it, does the U.S. consider that the visit that was being discussed is a visit of the Chinese foreign minister, no matter who that is?
So, Simon, let me say a couple things. First, it is up to China to decide who their foreign minister is. As you know, Secretary Blinken has met with Wang Yi on multiple occasions, including on his most recent trip to Jakarta, as well as while he visited Beijing prior to that. We will continue to engage with Foreign Minister Wang Yi and other Chinese officials, and we continue to believe that keeping lines of communication are incredibly important, and it's an important avenue to manage this relationship responsibly, which is something that the international community expects of us. As it relates to any potential travel, Simon, I'm not going to get into specifics. What I will just reiterate is that at the conclusion of almost every U.S. official's visit to the PRC, they have reiterated that there is an expectation that we will continue to see high-level engagement with travel from both sides of the Pacific, and we continue to expect that to be the case. I don't have any finite travel to announce, and it ultimately would be for the PRC to announce any travel to the United States, but I'm not going to get ahead of the process on who it might be and what their title or titles may not be.
And just finally, sorry, has there been any specific communication to say with the Chinese informing you of this change? And what level did that happen at?
I don't have any other further information on this beyond what's been publicly reported.
Just to follow up on
Sure.
that, what is your take of the events in China and why he's been incommunicado for so many weeks and months? And you asked about Simon asked about communications, but has the secretary been in contact? Before we knew that he was being removed. Has he been in contact with his counterpart in the recent weeks?
I have no calls on behalf of the secretary to read out. As you know, Leon, he had the opportunity to have a bilateral engagement with Wang Yi on the margins of ASEAN in Jakarta. I have no other engagements to read out. Obviously, we continue to think it's incredibly important that we maintain open lines of communications with the PRC. As it relates to our personal take, again, it is up to the PRC to determine who their foreign minister is, and I will just leave it at that. Anything else on the PRC before we move away? Jenny, go ahead.
Switching topics, but on Trevor Reed was reportedly injured in Ukraine fighting there. Do you have any comment on this? Was the State Department aware that he had gone to fight there? Are you concerned this will have negative implications on ongoing discussions to free the American detainees who are still in Russia, Paul Whelan and Evan Gershkovich?
I will say a couple of things, Jenny. We are aware that Trevor Reed was injured while participating in fighting in Ukraine. Since the beginning of this war, we have warned that U.S. citizens who travel to Ukraine, especially with the purpose of participating in fighting there, that they face significant risks, including the risk of capture or death or physical harm as well. And so I want to be explicitly clear about something. Mr. Reed was not engaged in any activities on behalf of the U.S. government. And as I indicated, we have been incredibly clear, warning American citizens, American nationals, not to travel to Ukraine, let alone participate in fighting there. And as you know, Jenny, we are not in a place to provide assistance to evacuate private U.S. citizens from Ukraine, including those Americans who may decide to travel to Ukraine to participate in that ongoing war. Now, we are aware that through the support of an NGO, Mr. Reed has been transported to Germany, and he is receiving medical care. Beyond that, I would just reiterate again to anyone listening to this briefing and the entirety of this room that Ukraine continues to be categorized as a level 4 country per the State Department's travel advisory warnings, which indicates do not travel, and that continues to be our posture. As it relates to the other American citizens who continue to be wrongfully detained in Russia, as the Secretary, as Matt, as Ambassador Karstens and others have said, we will continue to engage directly with the Russian Federation, calling for their release. You have seen us do so in the case of Paul Whelan, Evan Gershkovich, and will continue to remain deeply engaged on those issues.
But are you concerned the Russians will weaponize this as a way to say?
I'm just not gonna speculate on something like that. Anything else on this?
On Ukraine?
Go ahead, Alex.
Thanks, Rob. We have heard from DIA officials that Russia is building a drone manufacturing facility with Iran's help that will have significant impact on the war once it is completed. Is this something new to you, and if there's any renewed reaction?
Alex, I don't have anything on this specific report, but what I will say is something you've heard us speak quite clearly about before, which is that Iran remains Russia's top military backer. And we can say that, you heard us speak about this earlier this year, that Russia received hundreds of one-way attack UAVs, as well as UAV production-related equipment from Iran. Russia has been using Iranian UAVs to strike Kyiv, to terrorize Ukrainian populations, and this partnership, this military partnership between Russia and Iran continues to be deepening.
Thank you. And separately, is the U.S. aware of the U.S. intel over Russia laying additional Black Sea mines that may attack civilian shipping?
So,
shared with Ukrainians. I'm just.
I certainly wouldn't get into any intelligence assessments from up here, and I also don't want to get ahead of things. But Alex, the important thing to remember is that there are flagged ships that operate in the Black Sea, that have participated in the Black Sea Grain Initiative when it was in place, from every corner of the world. And I certainly don't think that these respective countries would take kindly to Russia attacking their flagged ships, especially because they were there participating in the Black Sea Grain Initiative for the very reason of ensuring that Ukrainian grain and food products are able to be transported to other parts of the world, to parts of the world that need it.
And finally, on this line, if I may, IAEA today has confirmed the presence of anti-personnel mines at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. May I have your reaction, please?
Alex, you've heard me say this probably 7 different ways over the past many months, but we have been very clear that such violent and volatile type of activity near in such close proximity to a nuclear power plant, in this case the NPP, is incredibly unsafe. It puts the immediate region in harm's way, and so we continue to call on such activity so close to the NPP to stop. Michel.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First, on Russia and Syria, how do you view the encounters between Russia fighter jets and U.S. drones operating over Syria, and how will the U.S. react on that?
So the U.S. and the global coalition to defeat ISIS continue to work with our local partners in Syria to maintain constant pressure on ISIS remnants and ensure ISIS's lasting defeat. I would reiterate what comments were made by our colleagues at the Department of Defense, that we strongly urge Russian forces in Syria to immediately stop reckless and threatening behavior that could result in the loss of life, and adhere to standards of behavior expected of a professional force. For any specifics on this particular incident, though, Michel, I would refer you to our colleagues at the Pentagon.
But you made the same request in the past, and Russia didn't stop doing what has done lately, especially on Sunday. Will there be any consequences?
I certainly am not going to preview any actions or consequences from here. What I will just reiterate, though, Michel, is that we've been clear that Russia needs to stop these reckless and threatening types of behavior that could result in the loss of life and put people in harm's way.
And on Syria, House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCall and Representative Joe Wilson sent a letter to President Biden opposing potential extension of Syria sanctions exemption. Are you planning to extend the exemption?
Well, Michelle, firstly, I'm not going to preview any sanctions or any sanctions-related actions that we might take. I certainly don't have anything to announce from here at this moment. We are aware of that letter and continue to be in close coordination with our colleagues across the interagency, as well as the Department of Treasury, who, of course, can speak more to questions regarding GL23. But let me just say that we have been clear, and have been clear about this numerous times, that we strongly support humanitarian access to all Syrians in need through all appropriate modalities. There obviously has been immense benefit of the provision of aid for this earthquake. Michelle, I think you were on that trip with the Secretary, where we saw some of these aid efforts, at least from the Turkish side, and we had the opportunity to observe them, and our viewpoint continues to be that we support these endeavors.
And finally, on
Can I just follow up on this?
I think he had a follow up. And then I'll come right back to you. So I don't want to interrupt Michelle.
I have a final one on Jordan.
Okay, let me come to him, then I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
I mean, the United States is in Syria to defeat ISIS, correct? I mean, that is an enterprise that has been largely accomplished. So how long will the United States stay in Syria, controlling like 1/3 of the country, disallowing the country access to its own oil? So could this go on forever? Because, ISIS, as much as an organization, it is also an ideology. I mean, this thing could be there forever and ever.
Saeed, let me say a couple things. It is not just about a pinpoint moment in time and effort. What it is about is our continued efforts to maintain the degraded position of ISIS in the region, and that continues to be a priority. And as I said, we continue to operate in efforts to maintain constant pressure on ISIS remnants and to ensure ISIS's lasting defeat. Obviously, our colleagues at the Pentagon and the Global Coalition can speak further about any specific parameters, but this has been a key priority for this administration and this department for some time.
Can I follow up on Michelle's question?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. In response to his question, you said that these incidents could result in the loss of life and put people in harm's way.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, this incident and a couple preceding involved unmanned American drones. The loss of life that you're referring to here, is that Russian pilots?
So we're being incredibly speculative about what this incident could have been taking over of. Certainly, still, this kind of reckless activity could certainly result in the loss of life, whether it be civilians or others in this case. I'm certainly not going to get specific, but what I would focus on is that this kind of activity is reckless and threatening and out of conduct of the kind of behavior that's expected of a professional force.
Thank you.
Good. You had a follow-up on Jordan. Go ahead.
Any comments on the proposed cybercrime law there?
So the proposed cybercrime law that was submitted to the Jordanian parliament limits freedom of expression online and offline and could inhibit future investment in the technology sector. This type of law with vague definitions and concepts could undermine Jordan's homegrown economic and political reform efforts and further shrink the civic space that journalists, bloggers, and other members of civil society operate in Jordan. And we reiterate that for countries to thrive, there must be protections for freedom of expression, open debate, vibrant discourse, and information sharing, including online via press and social media platforms as well.
Thanks.
Saeed, go ahead.
The Palestinian issue.
Sure.
Very quickly on the visa waiver. There's still a great deal of confusion because people tried to cross the Eretz crossing and they were turned back. So we know that the statutory requirement on reciprocity says all Americans should be treated equally and so on. But in this case, and I heard what Matt said yesterday in his response, to a question that was raised.
Yeah.
That, you understand or you see that Israel has certain concerns, security concerns with Gaza. So, if you factor this in, then reciprocity is not a full thing extended to all Americans, is it?
So, Said, again, what I'll reiterate is that that is 100% our expectation. You've heard me and Matt and be very clear about this. Is that our expectation is that any American citizen is treated equally in any attempts to transit to and through the region. I will note, though, Said, to your question, that we continue and we will analyze data that Israel has committed to provide. And I'll also note that the embassy has established a portal accessible via U.S. Embassy Israel's website where U.S. citizens may report any travel difficulties. And it is important for us to receive that feedback, to collect that data, and to analyze it so that come the deadline, the Secretary and this department can make the most appropriate recommendation to the Department of Homeland Security. This is still an ongoing process, Said, and we'll continue to assess and work directly with the Israeli government towards fulfilling our very clear requirements for entry into the visa waiver program.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you're saying that you will have some sort of a yardstick by which to measure when and where Israel has real legitimate security concern, or where it may be abusing that.
Said, those yardsticks exist. There are very clear requirements and prerequisites as it relates to the visa waiver program for any country that is intending to be part of that program.
Let me ask you on the judicial reforms, if I may. Now, the president said yesterday, or the White House said that they were disappointed or they regret the passage of the reforms. But now that this, the ship has sailed, so what's next? What will the United States do? And can we expect, sort of any hiccups and special relationships with Israel? Does that in any way impact the thinking or the stuff that is ongoing? There's been calls, for instance, by former ambassadors to basically cut off military aid to Israel and so on. So, what is your response to all these things?
Well, what I will say on that is not going to happen. But what I can say is that our decades, there's not going to be any cut or stoppage of military aid, and that is because our commitment to Israel and our commitment to Israel's security is ironclad. Our decades-long partnership with Israel is ironclad. And the president, and you saw the White House be very clear about this over the past couple of days, has expressed his views in this scenario that major changes in a democracy need to be enduring. They need to have as broad consensus as possible. We also understand that talks are ongoing and likely to continue over the coming weeks and months to forge a broader compromise, and we will continue to support efforts of Israeli leaders as they continue to work to seek a broader consensus and create a consensus through political dialogue. We also will continue to engage with our Israeli counterparts and Israeli officials to strengthen the bond between the United States and Israel and to advance our shared democratic values, cooperating on a full range of issues while working through our differences and concerns, like our most relationships where we have bilateral relations with the country, Said.
So you expect these negotiations in the coming weeks to yield any sort of pullback by the government and saying, we were wrong, let's not implement.
Said, it's not for me to preview or hypothesize or speculate from up here. What I'm simply saying is a matter of fact, which is that we understand that talks continue to be ongoing, likely over the coming weeks and months, as internally within Israel this process moves forward to continue to broader a compromise.
Okay, but I tell you what, because I'm sorry, I just want to talk about this issue for a bit further, because these judicial reforms, they impact lives on a daily basis. People that go in, and then the Ministry of Defense decides that this
We
person
agree with you,
cannot,
Saeed.
cannot enter and so on. Then the Supreme Court says no.
No, no.
If you allow
Matt.
me, because that's what they mean by the unreasonableness. This is unreasonable.
No one
they
is
have done that
disputing
many
that-
times again. No, we could see probably now a multitude
Saeed, no
of
one is
efforts and so on
disputing
by
that-
the Israeli government in the occupied territories on Palestinians who hold Israeli citizenship and so on. I mean, this is really very
Sorry,
critical
to your
issue.
point that this is affects everyday people. No, we agree with that point. That is exactly why this is something that the Secretary, the President, and others have been deeply engaged on, and incredibly clear that it's our viewpoint that such changes in democracy, where the expectation is that they are going to be enduring, must have as broad of a consensus as possible.
So can I go back to Trevor Reed just for 1 second?
Sure.
I want to make sure that I heard you correctly.
Yeah.
You said, as you know, we are not in a place to provide assistance to evacuate private U.S. citizens from Ukraine, including those Americans who may decide to travel to Ukraine to participate in fighting. Then you said that Mr. Reed has been transported to Germany and he's receiving medical care. Are you saying that he got there on his own?
If you check the transcript, what I
I
should
did.
have said
I'm looking
is
at it right now.
it was through the support of an NGO that Trevor Reed was transported to Germany. It was not through U.S. government efforts.
And okay, but there's another part to the question.
Sure.
It says, where is he receiving care in Germany? In a private hospital, or is he at Landstuhl, or is he at some U.S. military installation?
For privacy reasons, Matt, I don't have other specific details to offer on this. But what I can just reiterate is that it was through the support of an NGO that he was transported to Germany. Okay, DR, go ahead. You had your hand up.
Government has reintroduced 2 draft laws to the parliament, which, if passed, would severely curtail the freedom of expression and also a peaceful assembly of the Iraqi people. This had made a lot of reaction inside and outside of Iraq, including international bodies. What's your reaction to this and the freedom of expression in both Iraq and Kurdistan region of Iraq?
So, in countries around the world, we support efforts to defend the freedom of expression, the freedom of press and association, and peaceful assembly, and adherence to the rule of law. All citizens, including peaceful protesters, civil activists, deserve protection and equal treatment under the law. For democracy to succeed, government must safeguard constitutionally protected and internationally recognized human rights and fundamental freedoms, and this includes protecting exercises of free speech, such as peaceful protests.
Do you have any concern about freedom of expression in Iraq and Iraqi Kurdistan?
I don't have any assessment to offer on these 2 pieces of legislation, DR. What I will just say is that, again, that it is our point of view, and and we could support these kinds of efforts to defend freedom of expression in countries around the world.
And one last question about the disputes between Iraq and Kurdistan region of Iraq. They have had disputes for a long time, especially about the budget issue and also oil revenue sharing. The KRG has faced a big challenge to paying the salary for their public servants. Do you have any engagement, and what's your view on this issue between Iraq and Iraq?
So during the February U.S.-Iraq Higher Coordinating Committee in Washington, U.S. officials continued to urge the government of Iraq and the KRG to resolve their budget and hydrocarbon disputes in a manner that benefits Iraqi citizens and is consistent with Iraqi's constitution requirements. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jahaz Ali from Airway News TV Pakistan. Just wanted to ask a couple of questions on the ongoing violence in Manipur, India.
Sure.
We have seen some horrific videos. Clashes are still going on, and actually it was all started when Prime Minister Modi was here. So any concerns, any comments?
So we were shocked and horrified by the video of this extreme attack on 2 women in Manipur. We convey our profound sympathies to the survivors of this act of gender-based violence and support the Indian government's efforts to seek justice for them. Prime Minister Modi himself noted such violence against women is shameful in any civilized society. And as we have previously stated, we encourage a peaceful and inclusive resolution to the violence in Manipur and encourage authorities to respond to the humanitarian needs and protect the lives and property of all groups.
The Pakistani Electronic Media Authority has came up with a new bill, and the journalist organizations, even the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, has expressed concern on this bill, saying the definition of disinformation under it strays into censorship territory. You always speak about press freedom in Pakistan and all over the world. You thought?
So that is true. We routinely raise our concerns about press freedom to all stakeholders around the world, including officials in Pakistan. A free press and informed citizenry are key for any nation and its democratic future. We've been very clear about that.
So one last question.
Sure.
U.S. CENTCOM Chief General Michael met with Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff, General Munir, and just curious, what kind of discussion, anything to share with us?
I think Matt addressed this yesterday, and I would just refer you to our colleagues at CENTCOM and the Department of Defense to speak to that. Go ahead in the back. Yeah.
What's the Department of State reaction to Michael McCall's recent letter regarding U.S. official trip to Afghanistan? Is there any trip planned? And my second question, what was discussed in Secretary Blinken's telephone call with Pakistan Foreign Minister Bilal Bhutto Zardari and Qatar Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani, specifically about Afghanistan? And the last question, as we approach the second anniversary of the Taliban's return in power, how do you define U.S.-Taliban relation? Is this good, bad, or something else?
So let me say a couple of things there. First, there are no department officials who have any plans to travel to Afghanistan. Secondly, the secretary spoke by phone with his counterpart in Pakistan yesterday to continue to reaffirm productive U.S.-Pakistan partnership. They spoke about a number of issues, including that the United States will continue to engage with Pakistan through technical and development initiatives, through our very robust trade and investment ties. The secretary also welcomed the IMF's approval of a program to support Pakistan and encouraged continued reforms to promote economic recovery and prosperity in the country as well.
And the Afghanistan topic?
And what was your last question?
Last question about the Taliban's and U.S. relation. How do you define their relation now?
So, on the foreign minister's call, yes, the secretary and the foreign minister also discussed the destabilizing efforts of Russia's war against Ukraine, as well as the joint interest of the United States and Pakistan on a peaceful and stable Afghanistan. As it relates to the United States and the Taliban, we have been incredibly clear, quite regularly, condemning the clear backsliding that we're seeing in Afghanistan, the egregious human rights abuses, the marginalization of women and girls, and it continues to be our viewpoint. Two things. One, if the Taliban intends to seek international recognition, they need to start directly with the actions and the policies they choose to undertake in Afghanistan. And number two, the U.S. Is going to be watching very closely and will continue to take appropriate action as needed.
On Pakistan.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Iram Abbasi from Voice of America.
Great.
I want to ask you about the ongoing violence against one of the minority groups in Pakistan, Ahmadiyya community. Mm-hmm. There was this incident yesterday as well where Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, the religious group, vandalized one of their worship places. And there's not an isolated incident. There have been at least 11 cases where they vandalized their worship places. Do you condemn those attacks? And do you think Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan is a threat to minorities in Pakistan?
So what I would just say is violence against any group we certainly would condemn and take issue with, and we continue to raise directly with countries around the world for the need to respect basic human rights of all groups.
Just one more question.
Sure.
Did the Secretary Blinken talk about it to DFM, the foreign minister?
What I will just say is that we raise human rights issues and human rights concerns with officials from countries around the world, and as the Secretary has previously said and been very clear about, is that when it comes to the United States, human rights and advocating for them are always on the table.
Last
Go
question.
ahead. I'm going to work the room a little bit. You've got a couple questions already. Go ahead.
United States and Mexico just released a joint statement on shared efforts to combat illicit fentanyl and disrupt arms trafficking. A State Department representative is actually in Mexico now, joining a committee regarding this matter. What United States and Mexico will effectively do to fight illicit drug traffic? Can you describe anything new, any new decision regarding this matter? And on migration and forced displacement, if there is any new actions among the decision of two countries, United States and Mexico.
So I'll start with your second question. I don't have any new policy to announce or share, but specifically on the joint statement, I'm not going to get ahead of the delegation's visit as it continues to be ongoing. But what I will say is that the U.S. officials there discussed continuing joint efforts between the U.S. and Mexico under the U.S.-Mexico bicentennial framework for security, public health, and safety communities to continue to combat drug trafficking, disrupt the supply of chemicals used to make illicit fentanyl, prevent trafficking of these deadly narcotics at our shared border, and promote public health services to reduce harm and demand increased treatment services as well. It continues to be very clear to our countries that discovering, disrupting, and dismantling firearms trafficking network is critical to our shared efforts to addressing firearms trafficking that takes place at the border. And certainly these are the kinds of things that contribute to violence and destruction on both sides of our shared border. So again, the delegation's visit is still ongoing, so I don't want to get ahead of that, but certainly these are a number of things that I expect to be discussed.
Okay.
Juliet. Okay, let me do Mexico, then I'll come to you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Weekend of a major oil spill in Mexico's Gulf waters. That the spill may be heading towards the U.S. coastline. Is the U.S. government concerned about the spill, and has it reached out to the Mexican government to understand what happened?
So we certainly can remain in close touch with our Mexican partners quite regularly. I'm not aware of this specific reporting. Ultimately, though, should this spill reach U.S. coastal waters, I believe that would fall into the purview of either the EPA or the Department of Interior, depending on where it is and what kind of land it is. So I would refer you to them.
Yes, can we follow up over this? Because I contacted the Interior Department and they told me that you are the correct agency to address this issue.
Happy to chat to take that up offline.
Thank you.
Julia, go ahead.
I wanted to ask about the Houston woman who has been stuck in Dubai since April after an altercation with a car rental agency. Dubai, after being questioned by police, she was released, but the police have her passport. Just wanted the State Department's latest update on her case.
Sure. So the Department of State and our embassies and consulates abroad have no greater priority than the safety and security of U.S. citizens overseas. We are aware that U.S. citizen Tiara Young Allen is unable to depart Dubai, and we take seriously our commitment to assist U.S. citizens abroad and are providing all appropriate assistance. We continue to remain in regular communication with her and her family, and we'll continue to monitor her case closely, but I don't have any updates to offer from here.
Is there anything that can be done? You know, you mentioned appropriate assistance. Is there anything that can be done to help expedite the process?
Well, this is something that is something that we have no greater priority on. I'm certainly not going to delve into the specifics of a case from up here, but we are providing all appropriate consular assistance, and will continue to remain in close touch with her and her family as appropriate as well. Janet,
Sorry, just one last follow-up on
Yeah.
that. You know, with Dubai especially becoming, more of a tourist destination, what does the State Department say about Americans traveling there, given, the cultural differences?
Well, the State Department having to answer this question broadly. It's a great plug for our travel advisories, which came up in another question earlier today. Any country on the world, we have on travel.state.gov very clear assessments and parameters of what this department's official viewpoint is for the safety of traveling in that country, contact information for appropriate embassies and consulates, as well as information about other challenges or situations that American citizens may find themselves in a particular country. Again, to any American citizen seeking to travel anywhere, especially as we enter the busy summer period, would encourage you, especially if you are traveling abroad, to take a minute and visit travel.state.gov. Check what the State Department's guidance is for your destination. Make sure you have your appropriate contact information for your relevant embassies and consulates. Shannon, you had your hand up in the back.
Thank you.
I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
A couple quick follow-up questions on Trevor Reed.
Sure.
One, I was wondering, could you say, to best of your knowledge, do you know if Trevor Reed advised anyone within the U.S. government that he was planning to travel to Ukraine to fight, or just otherwise just travel to Ukraine? And also, can you say when you became aware that he was injured in the country?
I'm certainly not just going to get into the specifics of this case, given privacy concerns. What I will say is, though, I'm not aware that there was any communication offered to the U.S. government.
More broadly, is there a concern that a American of Trevor Reed's, perhaps has status of being well known, his status of having a track record of being detained in Russia, an American of that profile, is there any concern that that could pose a risk to Ukraine by creating a high-value target for Russia?
I'm not going to get into or parse a battlefield or a strategic assessment like that. What I will just reiterate is that for any American citizen, we have been incredibly clear that traveling to Ukraine, choosing to participate in the fighting there, has very real risk of capture, of death, of bodily harm, and that continues to be our assessment. Ukraine continues to be a level 4 do not travel country for this very reason. Go ahead.
Yeah, on Israel.
Sure.
And the unrest that's been enveloping the nation. I wanted to see if you have any comments on the car ramming attack that took place last night that injured, I believe, 3 pro-democracy, anti-reform protesters.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the first part of your question.
Do you have any comments on the car ramming attack?
So I'm not aware of the specific report of this attack, but what I will just say broadly is that people making their voices heard as it relates to democratic issues like this, judicial reform in this case, it's our view that individuals should be able to express themselves safely, should be able to protest safely, and make their voices heard safely, as long as they are also being safe and not inciting harm as well.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on the
Sure.
Yeah. Because apparently there are no charges except her screaming in public. I mean, that's a long time to be held for screaming in public. What are the charges?
Saeed, I'm just not going to speak to the specifics of the case from up here. What I will just reiterate is that we are offering all appropriate consular services and continue to remain in close touch with her and her family. Simon, go ahead.
Come back to Israel. I just wanted to clarify. So the Ambassador Nides, has he left Jerusalem now?
Yes. So his last day was last week.
Right. So who is running the embassy at the moment?
So the CDA is Stephanie Hallett, and she continues to be in charge in this period.
And are you concerned at all that not having an ambassador in place during a pretty significant period in Israel and in U.S.-Israel relations is going to sort of hamper your ability to communicate with the Israelis?
Well, so first, I have no doubt that there will be that the administration is working to nominate someone, and we will make that public as soon as is appropriate. Obviously, though, the entire team at our embassy there, including our CDA, are incredibly experienced, incredibly well-versed in engaging with their Israeli counterparts. This is also a collective effort, one that many individuals here across this department continue to be deeply engaged on. Of course, broadly, we want ambassadors confirmed in as many places as possible, as the Secretary made clear when he visited the briefing room last week. But in this circumstance, we continue to feel confident in the many channels that we continue to have to engage with Israeli officials through this period.
And Ambassador Naid's last day was last week.
Correct.
When did he leave Jerusalem? Because I think he was here during the Herzog visit.
I don't have specific dates at my
But he was
here.
in post until last week. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a couple more, then I'm going to wrap. Go ahead in the back. I've gotten to you already, Alex. Go ahead. Yeah.
Before.
Sure.
On Iraq. The Congressional Defense Committee in the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024 proposes that the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of State, shall develop a plan of action to equip and train Iraqi forces, including Kurdish Peshmerga forces, to defend against attack by missiles, rockets, and unmanned systems. How much is the Department of State supporting this proposal?
So I'm just not going to comment on active legislation that is still going. Would refer you to respective congressional offices on that. Go ahead, Tetsuo. Yeah.
To ask a follow-up question on the ASEAN meeting took place in Jakarta. North Korean ambassador took place in the ASEAN regional forum, and he didn't talk with the U.S. delegation as far as reported. So can you confirm that there was no diplomatic engagement between North Korea and the U.S. this time in Jakarta?
There was no diplomatic engagement between the United States and the DPRK in Jakarta.
And I'm also wondering if you had any specific reason for that.
Specific what?
Specific reason for no diplomatic engagement between the two countries.
So broadly, Tetsuo, we have been very clear to take the focus off of the ASEAN ministerial for a second. We have been very clear and consistent that we stand ready to engage with Pyongyang in discussions over our very clear goal of the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, a goal that we know is shared by many who were present at the ASEAN ministerial, including our allies and partners in Japan and the Republic of Korea. But as you've heard me say previously, we have not seen a reciprocal interest in engaging from Pyongyang. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.